Growing up, there was a CC's near my childhood church, and after Sunday night youth, we would frequent there. It was the absolute jam. CC's, let me tell you, CC's used to be a lot better than it is now. Like growing up in the mid late '90s, early 2000s, like CC's was in its prime. You had a $5 buffet that included drink for lunch, which was awesome. It was clean. It wasn't gross and disgusting. It had an arcade that worked. Me and my friends, we would go for youth group, and we had this thing. We were the 25 Pieces of Pizza Club, the 25 Club. It was me, my friend Kevin, my friend Connor, and my friend Josh, aka Philly Lump Lump. And he got that name because this dude ate like 6 Philly cheesesteaks in a day at some youth group we went to. Classic youth group stuff. But we were part of the 25 Pieces of Pizza Club. My junior year of high school, I was starting to drive to and from youth. And because I was driving, I also had a job. And income was pretty new to me. CC's had one of those mechanical arm devices games where you put it was like $1, I believe, and you put the dollar in, and you had 10 seconds to align the claw just right, and you press the button, and the mechanical claw would go down. It had one of those games at the front of the store, and I had $20 or $25 with me, and I remember this moment very clearly because you put a dollar in, you got two chances or two tries, so it was like 50 cents a try or whatever. I went to go do this. I put my money in. I think the first time I did it, I immediately pulled up a stuffed animal. And I was into this girl in youth group at the time, and we were kind of talking, and so I was like, let's keep playing this game, let's play the game. So I went back at it, and I did it again and again. No animal. Probably like $5 in, got another animal. $10 in, I got another animal. 20 or $25 in, I got another animal. I'm standing there. I'm like, yo, I just got three animals. I killed it tonight. And it was so much fun. But looking back at it, being that I'm 31 years old now and I pay bills, I have a house payment that I'm paying today because it's mortgage day. Like, I know that spending $25 on four stuffed animals for the mechanical claw game is a bad investment. It's a bad investment. It's a huge waste of money and a huge waste of time. Like, I burned through most of the money in my wallet, and for what? Like 15 minutes of fun, 15 minutes of personal enjoyment for some useless items I don't even want. Like, those stuffed animals are probably worth, a dollar or two at most, anyways. It's a huge waste of money, a huge waste of money. Did you know that if you live in America, you are a part of the 1%, the top 1% in the world? I don't mean it in the sense of like America, yeah, we live in America, freedom, yeah. Like, I mean, you're top of the 1% because you are guaranteed to have more resources at your disposal, more wealth, more influence, more net worth than 99% of the world. You are the top 1% when it comes to wealth, just simply because you're American. Doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're in poverty, lower middle class, you are the 99% of the world. You're rich compared to the majority, the vast majority of the world. And that should make us think twice about buying that $140 pair of shoes we've been saving up for. That should make us like think a little bit about spending money on a new game console immediately. Like, just because you want something doesn't mean your knee jerk reaction should be, I should get that. There should be some thought process in that, maybe. Possibly. What do you think? Like that nice airsoft gun we've been researching and we've been looking at online on evice.com or Airsoft GI, where we play the tactical daily spin game with the 10 free spins. And we're like, man, if I just save up a little bit more of my allowance for my job, I can get that airsoft gun I want, or the pair of shoes I want for basketball, or the soccer cleats I want with a soccer net I can put in my backyard. Like whatever it is, the new game console. Did God give us what we have just so we can use it or spend it on ourselves? Did God give us what we have just so we can use it or spend it on ourselves? We may say, well, like, I earned this, or my parents earned this. Who cares what anyone else thinks? Like, this is mine, or it's mine because I earned it, or my parents earned it. But my question for you today is that really true? Like, can you just say, well, I earned it or my parents earned it, and so you can do whatever you want with it? Is that statement really true? Does the Bible say counter to that? Does God say counter to that? So what if everything we have is a gift from God? What if everything we have or have had is a gift from God, and therefore how we use what we have needs to change as our relationship with God grows? How we use what we have, does it need to change as our relationship with God grows? So check out our verse for today. We're going one more verse in this whole story from Ephesians chapter 4. We're doing this whole taking off and putting on, taking off the old self, putting on the new. Paul says we're a new humanity. We've talked about anger and peace, and we've talked about taking off lies and putting on truth. Today, though, we're taking off theft and we're putting on generosity. You're like, Ryan, it doesn't sound like we're talking about being a thief. We're just talking about getting what we want. Well, check out this verse. So this is Ephesians 4, 28. It says, anyone who has been stealing must steal no longer, but must work, doing something useful with their own hands, that they may have something to share with those in need. The whole idea of like putting off and taking on, or not that, taking off and putting on. It's like we're taking off the old self, we're putting on the new. The new should be like who we're meant to be. It's our purpose. It's joy. It's fulfillment. It's that good feeling of, man, I just did the thing. It's who you were always meant to be. So what does Paul say we are meant to be? He says that they may have something to share with those in need. The rest of this verse, though, the rest of this verse was stealing. Is Paul really talking about stealing here? Is Paul really talking about stealing here? Like when I think of stealing, I think of like, you ever watched the movie Home Alone, the Christmas movie, with Macaulay Culkin? Um, he gets left at home. His parents go off, and it's Christmas, and these burglars break in because they think no one's home, but actually he is. Like that's what I think of, like burglars, theft. Dude's like in the top corner of this picture where he's holding social security cards and IDs and credit cards. Like, that's what I think of when I think of theft, or like a thief climbing through a window, or someone going to a gas station and stealing money from the cash register, or someone going to a clothing store and stealing a piece of clothing and putting it in their purse and walking out. That's what I think of when I think of stealing. But I don't think that's what Paul is talking about when he says in red, steal no longer. I don't think that's what Paul's talking about. I think, like Jesus, Paul is raising the bar. Like a thief or someone who steals takes from others for self gain. Like a thief, what Paul's saying here is a thief is anyone really who goes away from the purpose of why you have things in the first place. I'm going to repeat that because this is really important. A thief is anyone who goes away from the purpose of why you have things, how you have things, your things, like what they are, whose they are. When you get away from like the intention, the purpose of them, the focus, why God gave you stuff in the first place. When you get away from the purpose of it, like all of a sudden you're in the category of stealing. And you might be like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, wait a minute. Like, I'm going to challenge you. Like, go read Matthew 5-7, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and be challenged to look at things about how Jesus raises the bar on things like divorce. Jesus raises the bar on things like forgiveness. Like, Jesus raises the bar on things like getting payback, like the whole eye for an eye. He's like, yo, turn the other cheek. Yo, if someone's oppressing you and he tells you to carry their bag an extra mile. Like he tells soldiers used to back in the day during Jesus' time, they would walk through a Jewish community and they could just tell you to, hey, carry my 120 pounds of gear and walk a mile. You had to, you're legally obligated. Jesus says, don't go 1 mile, go 2 miles. Like blow their mind, like go the extra mile. People are like, what? Why would I do that? I hate soldiers. I hate the Romans. Jesus is like, that's how you show love to them. Do it anyway. Like Jesus raised the bar. Yo, this is a raise the bar, countercultural, biblical worldview moment where he says, yo, if you are living outside the purpose of God with your stuff, it's you focus, it's self focus. You're actually stealing. So check this out, like a biblical worldview. If you dismiss God's direction from your stuff, from your life, you're the thief in your own story. You're the thief. You can live in a mansion on a hill, dude. But like if your stuff is just yours, you're the thief. You're the one stealing, the self-centered person. Because if you believe God created everything, including you, then you need to come to the conclusion. You have to, the natural conclusion of that statement. If I believe, all right, God's created everything, He's created me, all this, the conclusion is all of this isn't mine, it's His. It's His. If you believe that God created everything, including you, then you have to believe that all that you have, everything you've owned, everything you are going to own, everything you have, everything you're working towards, and the things you should be working towards, it's His, and He needs to be a part of the process of choosing what you're going to have or what you're going to do with what you currently have. And what God has given you, He's given you so that you may live life to the fullest. It might look different than what you think, though. Like, God's not a tax collector holding you at gunpoint to give a portion of what you have. He's not the tithing police. He's not sitting up in heaven like wagging his finger like, man, like, gotta give me your money. Like that's not God. But what He is saying, yo, what you have is mine. I'm giving it so that you may share something, have something to share with others in need. That's the end goal in mind. So rather, God is inviting you to be what? He's inviting you to be useful and make His world a better place. That you may have something to share with those in need. That's the end goal. That's the desire. That's the fulfillment. That's the purpose. That's the adventure that God's inviting you on that can completely change the world. That's going to turn people who do not know God to God. That's going to turn people who have been in prayer waiting for God to act. And God said, hey, I'm sending you, Christian. I am sending you. You are God's and you're part of God's solution to the broken, hurting world. And it's going to take you to stop being all about you and be more about God and others. That's God's plan for a broken world. The church, you doing His work with your resources, your time, your money, your wealth. When I was in college, my parents, they stopped doing Christmas presents for each other. And I remember they started this whole new tradition of wanting to help someone in need. I had some friends in college who had big needs. I had a friend one year, he had really bad teeth issues, really bad teeth problems, and he had no dental. He had no health insurance. And so my family came alongside my friend and they paid to have his teeth fixed. I had another friend, he had car issues and he needed help getting his car fixed to go back and forth from college. My parents helped foot the bill to fix his car problems because he didn't have the money. That was the one Christmas present they gave towards each other, was helping my friend. There's another guy who needed a plane ticket to go see his family. He was just starting out in youth ministry. And my parents foot the bill to get this person a plane ticket so he could fly out to see his family for the holidays. Like that was how they changed their focus. It wasn't about getting gifts for themselves. It was about turning that gift into honoring God with something. I'm not saying like you got to get rid of Christmas presents. I'm not saying that you have to get rid of, wanting to buy things for your loved ones. I'm not saying that you have to get rid of wants and needs. But because my parents were stewards with what they had, they were able to have something to share with those in need. And they were asking the questions, what can we do to share with those in need? My parents made sharing a priority. So here's what you can do. First step, remember, this is a three-part process. Take off, renew your mind, put on. First step, take off theft. A worldly definition of theft, when you take something that isn't yours, like that's stealing, right? That's stealing. When you take something that isn't yours, that's a worldly definition. Jesus raised the bar. Paul raises the bar. A Christian definition of theft. When you fail to see everything as God's, saying, God is the owner of my money and my stuff. How God would use my possessions is going to be different than how I would use my possessions. You got to take off. You got to give up your control over your possessions. So take off theft. Another way to phrase that is take off the selfish you. That's saying, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to strive for it. I'm going to make my desires, my dreams, my goals for that house that I want, that car that I want, the new game system that I want, the shoes that I want. Let's repurpose and refocus and reset so that way we can be a blessing to others. Take off, give up your control over your possessions. Think differently about yourself. Ask yourself, why do I think I want or need that? That's a great first step. Think about, why do I think I want or need that? Why do I think I need or want that? When you ask yourself this question, you'll come to realize you need a lot less. And just because you want something doesn't mean you have to have it. Also, start believing that God is your provider. Start believing that everything you have is actually His. It's His, it's not yours. God should decide ultimately what you do with your money and stuff. So say this, who should make this decision? Not me, God should. Who should decide where this goes? Not me, God should. Lastly, put on generosity. So we got take off theft, renew your mind, asking the different question, right? Why do I think I want or need that? Put on generosity. Jesus is the center of your life, and close to Him are other people. God said, love God, love others. Remember Jesus said that in Matthew? Love your neighbor as yourself. Love God, love others. This is His first and second greatest commandment. People are waiting to be blessed. People are waiting for help. People are waiting for need. And it's going to take someone who's kept from themselves so they in turn can give to others. Maybe you saved your allowance to bless someone. Maybe it's you noticing another person at school in need. And so you ask your parents to get you less for Christmas so you can get them clothes or something, or a jacket for school for the winter. Maybe it's giving up your time to help a classmate when there's 100 other things you could or want to be doing. Just know that in order to give, you have to first give up. If you can't give up, you will always have less to give. You will always find yourself lacking in offering anything of substance to anyone else in need. In order to give, you have to first give up, whether it's time, money, things. And Jesus ultimately calls us to give. So you got to give up. You got to take off the old self. When you stop stealing from God and stop doing just you can then and only then truly become generous. This is a direct consequence of submitting to God's authority and direction. Stop putting yourself at the center of your mind and thoughts and take your place in being used by God to change the world. Take your place in fixing brokenness with your resources. Find fulfillment in God's plan to make you a generous person. This has been taking off theft, putting on generosity. This is week 7 of our series we're doing for LifeGroups right now. I hope you guys check this out. Be doing this family cards this week. If your family hasn't been doing that, this is a really important one this week. It has a really good challenge with it. And I'm challenging you, go to your parents and tell your parents, hey, I'd really like one dinner this week. Let's sit down and do the family card and do the challenge together. It's going to challenge you. It's going to push you. And it could be a difference maker in your life. Act this card, like if you follow this card out, things may never be the same for you. And it's going to be never the same in a good way because you'll be putting on the new self. Yo, hope you guys have a great week.